How's it going, everybody? Welcome to the channel. My name is Maz Gutierrez. Thank you for joining me today. I finally got around to checking out Miller's Girl. Now, this was a movie that I was moderately interested in. You have Jenna Ortega, who plays a college student that falls in love with her professor, played by Martin Freeman. And there's a lot of controversy revolving the age gap between both of them. And I wanted this movie to be an exotic thriller. I knew what the movie was going to be going in, and I just wanted this movie to have a little bit more to this subject matter. And unfortunately, I really didn't get this because I know a lot of people aren't the biggest fan of this movie. Some people aren't the biggest fan of this movie because of the age gap. Some people aren't a big fan of this movie because it's boring. I don't think it's as bad as a lot of people probably make it out to be. There's decent things in here that could have been improved on. It just felt flat in what it was trying to be. This is coming to us from a first-time writer and director, and you can definitely tell in the final product because this movie tries to be exotic and thrilling, and it fails in both of those aspects. On some aspects, it feels like Martin Freeman and Jenna Ortega really don't feel comfortable with this material. They are trying their very best to make this material work, and when they try to make this material work, it works. What really lacks in this movie is tension and atmosphere. I get what they were trying to go for, but they don't really communicate that all too much because you have Martin Freeman that is having some trouble at home with his wife. His wife is too busy with work and doesn't pay a lot of attention to him. So whenever Jenna Ortega tries to take some kind of interest and tries to make him feel wanted, feels needy, then that is where they were trying their very best to make this as exotic as they possibly could. The performances by Martin Freeman and Jenna Ortega just felt awkward to me. It felt like they knew exactly what kind of response they were going to be getting, and they tried their very best. You have two caliber actors in here that I absolutely love seeing on screen, but I just never felt that chemistry. They try their very best to give the best performance that they possibly can, but it just doesn't come as exotic or thrilling. And that is what this movie is needed because it tries to go in that general direction. And when it tries to go in that general direction, it's a nice attempt. They just needed to add a little bit more, and this movie clocks in at about 90 minutes. That is the perfect runtime for me. I like to call it the Miles runtime because 90 minutes to me is exactly where I love my movies to be. But by the time that we get to the ending, everything just feels rushed and it just doesn't feel complete because it just ends and then cut to credit. And you don't feel like nothing is really resolved or anything. And that is kind of the biggest bummer of this movie is the fact that I wanted to go into this movie with an open mind. To I wanted this movie to make me feel some kind of way. But it just felt like a movie that they knew what kind of material they had. They just didn't know how to execute it, and when they tried to execute it, it just failed on those aspects. Really, the only relationship that works is between Jenna Ortega and the one that plays her friend, who was in Blockers, who I just really love. I thought they had wonderful chemistry, and they're trying to go for the same kind of goals. I like the approach that they were trying to go for. They just missed on all those marks, and I think it's just down to the performances between Martin Freeman and Jenna Ortega because they try their very best to save this movie as much as they possibly can, and boy do they try to pull every single drop that they possibly can, but it just felt like they were awkward and the chemistry was not there. And for a movie like this, you kind of want to be able to have that kind of chemistry in order for them to have their ups and downs. There was just not enough for me in here. It was boring for the most part. It's very slow, and when they try to infuse some kind of eroticisms in here, it just falls flat. But overall, I'm going to go ahead and give Miller's Girl a 3 out of 10. Jenna Ortega and Martin Freeman do the very best that they possibly can to save any kind of mystery for this movie and try the very best to save this movie. But it's just more so in the dialogue and the way that the movie is constructed. And by the time that you get to the ending, there's no payoff. But those are my thoughts on Miller's Girl. Have you guys checked it out, or is this a movie that just really didn't have any interest for you? Go ahead and drop your thoughts in the comments below, and I'll catch you guys for the next video.